Welcome everybody to our first monthly Body Signals lecture. I'm Dr. Greg DeClerc. So a few housekeeping things. We want to keep it short to about a 60-minute lecture. So if you have any questions, just wait. We'll take care of those at the end. If you have not signed in, raise your hand. Cool. Awesome.
Good job, Alice.
In the back, we have coffee, water, tea, and snacks, so please help yourself to those. Who's ready for some awesome information tonight? Good. All right, so as you're listening, be thinking, who else do you know who could benefit from the information we're talking about tonight? Also, then bring them to next month's lecture, which is going to be about how to boost your immunity naturally. I'd like to, before we start the presentation, I'd like to introduce a patient of ours. Her name is Brittany. She's going to say a few words about her experience with chiropractic.
Thanks, Brittany.
Hi, guys.
You just rushing it.
Little notes so I don't forget. All right. Hello, my name is Brittany. I actually was referred from my dad a couple years ago. He hardly could walk and came in here and was going to Mexico, I believe, on a vacation. And he saw Dr. Ginsberg, and within the first couple of weeks, felt so much better and was able to walk and went to Mexico no problem. So after I saw my dad, I decided to come on in here. But the reason, I just like ran here, so bear with me. But the reason why I started coming here was mainly because I had awful back pain and neck pain. I have 2 kids, they were both C-sections, and recently I feel like they're 4 and 1. And my 1-year-old is like 30 pounds and wants to be held all the time, so you know how that works. But my back was killing me, my neck hurt so badly. And also, a big one on the top of the list was my entire life I have struggled with migraines. So, and does anyone have migraines? Perfect. Well, let me explain what a migraine feels like. It feels like you are pushing a baby out of your head. It is the worst pain in the world. And I struggled with it basically my entire life. I was 9 years old, had to have an MRI done because no one could really pinpoint what was wrong with me. I felt like the problem child in classes because we had lights like these, and I couldn't do class. I couldn't concentrate, I couldn't study. My grades were dropping. And then I joined softball, could hardly play softball because the noise of a bat and a ball hitting each other was so bad. And that's probably, it's so hard to explain what a migraine is, but I would have to actually sit in my dad's car during softball practice because it would kill me so badly. And I had strong medicines I probably shouldn't have even been on when I was 10, 11, 12, 13, going all the way up to my 20s. I had cortisone shots all in my neck, up in my skull, and the needles are so long, and my dad couldn't even sit in the room with me because of the face that I was getting. So that was awful. And I couldn't do much of anything. So coming here originally was for my back pain and for my neck pain. And once I was actually doing my evaluation with our doctors here, I was very vulnerable because I didn't really know that having a migraine would, be such a big thing for chiropractic care at the time. And sure enough, when we're kind of going over what was wrong with me, I mentioned that I do struggle with migraines, and I feel like a weight has been lifted off my shoulders because my first adjustment, and I tell you this all the time, but my first adjustment, I felt like I was like floating into air. It was the craziest like outer body experience I've ever had. So, hold on, I'm getting ahead of myself. So yeah, struggled with migraines, back pain. And while coming here, I've only been coming here for a little over a month, I've learned so much more than just chiropractic care, but that it also helps with a lot of other things. And our therapists in the back help with our posture, our balance, strengthening our bodies, which to me is amazing. And since I've been coming here, which like I said, it's been a month and a half, I am proud to say, and I could seriously be in tears, I haven't had a migraine since when I used to get them almost daily. I fainted from them, so the fact that I do not have migraines anymore gives me goosebumps because I feel like a new person. I feel like a better mom. I can now be more active with my kids. I don't have to sit in a dark room anymore. When my kid cries, I don't feel like strangling them anymore. So I am ungodly thankful for Dr. Ginsberg for, helping me be migraine free, and my back and neck pain is at a minimal because of the wonderful care I've had from here and from our therapist in the back. And yeah, thank you.
Thanks, Brittany.
You're welcome.
All right, so your presenter tonight is Dr. David Ginsberg. Dr. Ginsberg's been in practice for over 27 years. He has certifications in both pediatrics and pregnancy. He has co-authored chapters on sports injury in the clinical textbook of chiropractic. He has served as a writer and a columnist for the Fox River Trail Runners. He has been the team chiropractor for both the Chicago Slaughter and the Fox Valley Eagles semi-professional football teams. He has served as an injury consultant for the Eclipse Select Soccer Club and the St. Charles Gymnast Academy. Dr. Ginsberg's personal commitment to fitness and health has taken him all around the world to compete in various things such as the Eco Challenge Fiji, the Ironman World Championships in Hawaii, and the Boston Marathon. When Dr. Ginsberg is not seeing patients in the office or exercising, he is continuing to expand his knowledge on both diet and nutrition. Let's give a huge hand for Dr. Ginsberg.
Thank you, Jim.
Well, thanks everybody for coming out. I appreciate it. I consider myself a health coach, probably more than chiropractor. Try to coach people, and our mission with these Body Signals lectures is to try to give the Tri-City community more information so they can take better care of themselves. So thank you everybody for being here tonight and helping me to fulfill my mission. What I found is when I do these workshops or these lectures that the people who get the most out of them are the ones that are really present and engaged. You've all been to a health club before. You watch someone, sometimes you see people and they got a tablet and they're going from machine to machine and they're recording their sets and they're sweating and they're totally focused. And then there's that other person who's like kind of on their phone and they go and they sit on the machine and then they get up and they talk to somebody. Who gets a better workout? Obviously the first person, right? That person who's focused and engaged. So if you could do me a favor, I want everyone to really get a lot out of this tonight. And if you can be present with me and be engaged, I really appreciate that, and you'll get the most out of this, okay? So, very cool. Before we start, I want to tell you a little bit about myself and why I became a chiropractor. I started playing tennis when I was about 8 years old, and I played a lot. I loved the game. By the time I was 10, I was beating my dad, which was kind of a big deal to him, probably more than me. When I was in high school, my doubles partner and I, we were one of the top-ranked teams in the state of Illinois. And my senior year, early on in the season, I started to develop some pain in my right butt cheek out of nowhere. And after about a week and a half or 2 weeks, all of a sudden it was going down my leg. Very sharp. Every time I cut, every time I served, sharp pain. It really started to affect my game. And I knew that if I went to my family doctor, that he would give me some muscle relaxants and some anti-inflammatories, and he would tell me to take 2 or 3 weeks off playing tennis. And there was no way that was going to happen. Fortunately for me, my oldest sister had graduated chiropractic college, and she was about a year in practice, and she's like called and said, you should go to a chiropractor. And she found me somebody, and I went in, and he examined me, took some x-rays, and he showed me where my spine was out of position and how I was pinching on the nerve that was going down my leg. And he started adjusting me, and within a couple weeks, my leg pain went away. I never had to take any time off. And my doubles partner and I finished 12th in the state of Illinois that year. So it was pretty awesome. And it was from that moment on that I pretty much knew, this is what I want to do. I want to be a chiropractor. And I really think that there's some people that are born to do certain things. And I feel like for me that I was born to do this. I was born to be a chiropractor and to help people through chiropractic and just nutrition and educating them. So anyway, enough about me. Time to talk a little bit about you and what our topic tonight. I want to start by asking you guys a question. How many of you here think that we live in a healthy country or a sick country? Sick. Yeah. So we rank 12th out of 13 countries on the most prevalent health indicators. We were ranked 15th out of 25 industrial countries, according to the World Health Organization. Next slide, please. Has anybody ever heard the word iatrogenic before? Iatrogenic death. Iatrogenic means physician-induced. Third leading cause of death in the United States is iatrogenic causes, physician-induced. 250,000 deaths per year. Almost half of these, 106,000, are due to people taking the medications that they've been prescribed for a certain condition in the right way, yet it ends up causing the side effect of death. Another 80,000 is infections, 45,000 errors in hospitals, 12,000 unnecessary surgeries, and 7,000 medication errors. You guys ever see a figure like this before? 250,000, that's a big number, huh? You think we have a health crisis in this country? Yeah, absolutely. This is more than crime, plane crashes, drunk driving, all put together. And some people estimate that this number is actually bigger, that it might be more than heart disease and cancer. Now, to put this in perspective, 250,000 deaths per year, this is equivalent to a 747 crashing and everybody on it dying every single day of the year for 1 year. That's a lot of people. Again, do you guys think we live in a healthy country or a sick country? Okay. And how about you guys? Are you as healthy as you want to be? How about your spouses or your kids? In my experience, the answer is a resounding no. So why do we have this crisis? Well, in my opinion, there's three main causes or three reasons. The first reason is we don't take personal responsibility for our health for the most part in this country. I mean, many of us, who's responsible for your health? Some people say, well, it's my doctor, or it's my spouse, or it's my insurance company. I do what my insurance says. But in reality, it's you. You're responsible for your own health, okay? The second main reason that I think we have this health crisis is that we're using the wrong definition of health. I mean, after all, what do we all do? How do we act? If I feel good or I look good, then I must be healthy, right? What does cancer feel like or look like? Or how about heart disease or diabetes? By the time you feel these things, are you in big trouble or are you in huge trouble? Okay? So who would like to learn a new definition of health so you don't have to struggle with those things? A few of us, huh? Makes sense, right? Now the third reason, it's probably the most common reason of all the three. I'm going to tell you that later. It's the most important. Don't let me forget, okay? Here's one thing that I do know though, okay? If we keep doing what we're doing, right, we're going to keep getting what we're getting, right? And most of us aren't satisfied with what we're doing or how we're feeling, and we want something different. We want something new, okay? So we're just coming off the holiday season, right? And just a quick story. I went on vacation right after the holidays, had a really great vacation with my family. We were going out to eat every night, and we'd go watch the sunset and have some drinks, and then I got home, and I'm trying to wrap up the year-end stuff, so I'm kind of worked up, stressed about that. And then I'm starting to think about this workshop and preparing, and I'm getting a little more stressed, and my kids are still home from college, so we're still going out to eat a lot. I took them to some concerts. I'm staying up late, not getting sleep. Bam, all of a sudden, tickle in my throat. I got a cough. I'm run down. My body aches. I don't get sick very often, but I kind of did it to myself this time. And, you know, this is pretty common, right? You guys are hearing this, all this stuff going around right now. If you think that I'm exaggerating about this holiday stress and this holiday hangover, let's take a look at the next slide here. So this is from 1973 to 2001. This plots the number of cardiac deaths by day. Okay, notice how that peaks when we get to Christmas and New Year's. The highest deaths of all year happen between Christmas and New Year's. Okay? That's some serious stuff right there. Okay? This is due to excess stress, excess toxicity, and excess deficiency. So again, how many of you think that we live in a healthy country or a sick country? Sick, right? Okay? Do you think these deaths are because around Christmas we don't have enough medications? Or the doctors are going on vacation? Is that why people are having these cardiac deaths? No, of course not. Okay? You know that our country spends more money per person on healthcare than any other country. Unfortunately, it's not with the best outcomes. In fact, we spend 3 times more than other countries of equal income, yet our rank is 37th out of 40th in health for industrialized nations. That's pretty bad. Our life expectancy is lower than 30 other countries, and we have the lowest life expectancy of industrialized nations.
Really?
So, yeah.
That surprises me.
It surprises you, doesn't it? You think, geez, we spend all this money. How come we're not healthy?
Yeah.
Again, number one reason is we don't take personal responsibility. We've all been trained to think that sickness or illness comes from bad germs, bad genes, or bad luck. But, I mean, come on, during the holidays, are our genes changing? I don't think so. Are the germs getting stronger? Of course not. Second reason, we're using the wrong definition of health. Again, how do we act? If nothing hurts, if I feel good, I go to the doctor. Guess what the very first symptom is of heart disease? The most common first symptom. It's a fatal heart attack. Not very good, huh? If we're waiting around for that symptom, okay? That's not good. Who thinks we need a new definition for health? Yeah, absolutely. So let's talk about this holiday hangover and some of these symptoms, okay? Exhaustion, cold, flu, headaches, digestion, weight gain, irritability, pain, anxiety, depression. Anybody suffer some of those things, particularly around the holiday? Yeah, a few of you, right? So these symptoms, or signals as we call them, body signals, they're telling you, it's a warning by your body. It's a warning that you're moving away from health and towards sickness or illness. But unfortunately, what's our first response to these typically, our first action? It's to cover them up with some sort of pill or potion. And unfortunately, oftentimes we'll feel better temporarily, but we're really still sick inside. And we continue with that sickness or illness. So a body signal is a symptom. And like an iceberg, if we lop off that top 10%, what's going to happen? It's going to come back, right? It's going to reappear because the majority of the iceberg is under the surface, okay? So again, these body signals, my purpose with these lectures is every month to teach you about a new symptom or a new signal so that you can understand what the causes are of these things so you can make better choices, okay? So this is a really, really important slide. This is what we call the illness-wellness continuum. Everybody in this room, in fact, everybody on this planet, falls somewhere along this continuum, okay? On the far left, we have death. And on the far right, we've got wellness or 100% function, okay? And then all the way back and forth in between, you're either moving towards health or away from it and towards death. So what I'd like everyone to do is just take a minute and think about it. Put a dot on that, on your slide, on your page, of where you think you are, okay? And then what I'd like you to do is next to that dot, I'd like you to actually put an arrow in the direction that you think you're headed. Are you heading towards health and wellness, or are you heading towards sickness and premature death? And the last thing you need to understand about this slide is something called momentum. Momentum is how quickly are we moving in one direction or the other, okay? So we have to think about this really, because again, this is really, really important. If you learn what these body signals mean and you understand their causes, you're going to be able to have better behaviors. You're going to be able to make better choices. Better choices are going to lead to better outcomes, okay? So our behavior, our decisions, our choices predict what our results are. And if you don't understand this, unfortunately, you don't have any chance of achieving your health goals, okay? Behaviors matter, and they matter big time. Now that puts a lot more responsibility on us as individuals, doesn't it? But it also should give you hope. Hope that you have control over your health, you have influence over your health and your family's health, okay? And it's really important to understand that. So there's a few premises that we need to kind of take a look at and understand is health is normal. It's a normal part of life, and our behaviors determine how healthy we are. Next is our bodies are smart. They are intelligent. If we cover up our symptoms or our signals with drugs, we might feel better temporarily, but in many instances, it's just going to lead to further sickness and ill health. Third, our nervous system is the master system, okay? This is what allows us to adapt and cope with the stress around us, the holiday stress or the holiday hangover. So adaptation of the nervous system is what helps you deal with stress, and that's what allows you to be healthy. So good nervous system function means good health. The nervous system is so important, it's surrounded by bone, your spine. Your spine acts like a suit of armor, and it protects your nervous system. And the last thing is that modern life it's unnaturally stressful. How many of you think that you have more stress now than you did 10 years ago? Yeah, okay, most of us. And what about our kids? I mean, our kids have way more stress than we did growing up. You hear it all the time. I lecture at the high schools, and the first thing the teachers tell me is, these kids have so much stress these days. We didn't have that kind of stress. How many of you think that we're going to have more stress 10 years from now than we do right now? Probably, right? So wouldn't it be good if we could help our bodies to better adapt to the stress around ourselves? Wouldn't that be a good thing if we could do that? So let's talk about some of these stressors. Okay, there's three main sources: our thoughts, toxins, and traumas. And around the holidays, how many of you have stressed out a little bit about company, presents, wrapping presents, what am I going to buy, making a meal, baking, things like that? Okay, obviously there's a lot of stress around the holidays there. So in particular, looking at the first category of thoughts, we only have so much time, energy, focus, and money to go around. And as I said, around the holidays, things really, they become overloaded. So our economy of these limited resources, when we get to that holiday time, because we have all these additional pressures and things like that, our reticular activating system, it starts to work overtime. And your reticular activating system, this is your body's fight or flight response. It's the system that prepares us for a fight or to run. And we have so much excess thought stress on our minds right now that we just become overwhelmed. And when that reticular activating system kicks in, let me show you kind of what happens here. This is called adaptive physiology. This happens inside of us without us even thinking about it when we're under stress. Imagine if a lion jumped out behind me right now. Well, how would you guys feel? Or if you've ever been pulled over by a police officer, as soon as you see those lights behind you, what starts to happen? Our blood pressure goes up. Our heart starts beating very, very fast. Our muscles get tense. It's preparing us to fight. So blood goes away from our stomach into our muscles. And that's why we get that nauseous feeling, that digestive upset. Reproductive and sex drive goes down. Decreased serotonin levels. Those are the feel-good hormones. Those are the hormones that make us feel good in our body. We have increased fear and anxiety. Our sensory systems become heightened. Our immune response goes down. Our sensitivity to insulin goes down, which means our blood sugar goes up. Okay, we need to have sugar in our blood so we can run or we can fight, right? What we call the good cholesterol goes down and LDL cholesterol goes up. And the reason it goes up is because that's used to make many of our hormones that allow our bodies to cope with stress. So your body's preparing that. And our blood clotting factors go up in case we get a cut. We need to get taken care of. So this all happens under stress, this adaptive physiology. This saves our lives in the short term. But unfortunately, when this system gets activated chronically, it shortens our lives. Okay? Not a good thing. And let's go next slide here. So why does it do that? Again, look at the stress of the holiday symptoms here, okay? With most of the deaths occurring around Christmas and New Year's, okay? And again, can you see now how this excess stress contributes to activating that fight or flight response? And this is just an extreme example of that, okay? So what can we do to change some of these things? So what I'd like everybody to do right now is kind of think of this stoplight. So think of one thing that you can stop doing that you know is taking away from your health. And write that down on your paper, okay? Yellow light, slow down. The fact that you guys are here tonight, okay, it tells me, one, that you care about your health, or the person who dragged you here cares about your health, or they're sick of listening to you complain. But either way, you're taking the time out of your night, tonight, to think about it. And if you can just every day take a few minutes to slow down and think about the choices that you're making, that will go a long way. And third, green light, start doing. Pick one thing, one action that you can do that will start to improve your health. And I'm going to give you some ideas here as we go forward. When we're talking about, again, our thought stress. So one thing we have control over, all of us in this room, is our attitude. We control that. We control whether we want to be positive or negative. Connection, acceptance, respect, we all crave that. So if we can be that for other people, we should try to do that. That's a good thing. And try to surround yourself with people that will give you that right back again. Regarding energy exchange, some friendships, they just need to be fired. If you hang around negative people, it's going to rub off on you, and it's going to create more stress in your life. Unconditional love, loving people even when they don't deserve it. That energy comes back to you. Sleeping. How many of you think sleep's important? Yeah, absolutely. Our circadian rhythm, that normal rhythm that helps us get into a deep sleep, preferably we're all getting 7 or 8 hours per night. And when we get those good waves going for deep sleep, when our circadian rhythm is working, our bodies are actually repairing ourselves. Okay? Now, if you interrupt that rhythm, so going to bed at the same time and waking up at the same time of day every day, that will help to preserve that circadian rhythm. So that's really important. Try not to disrupt that. E-fast. Get rid of the tablets and the phones or the blue screens in your bedroom. Studies show that it's disruptive to your health, and it doesn't help you to get into a good sleep at night. Take naps. Again, because consistently, 20-minute naps have been shown to improve our health. Don't overcommit. No can be actually a love word. When we overcommit ourselves, we usually don't do a good job. We get run down, we get tired. So learning to say no is actually very, very important. So the next category of stress is toxins. Okay, Christmas time, holiday time. Excess toxins are what comes in and we take into our body. Excess sugar, grains, and alcohol. They're everywhere during the holidays. And they really create a lot of stress on our bodies. So what can we do to alter that or change that? Okay? Well, think about eating for recovery. So never go hungry. When you go shopping, try not to go to the store when you're hungry. You end up buying more food and you end up buying things that are less healthy for you. The battle is won at the register. If you don't buy it, you can't eat it, right? So keep the crap and the junk out of your house and then you won't eat it. Don't drink your calories. Generally speaking, what you're drinking should have no calories in it, like water. Healthy teas. Now, there are some things that don't have calories that they advertise, and if they're sweet, I'm going to encourage you to actually stay away from them. Yes, they don't have calories, but they're typically sweetened with fake sugars, things like sucralose or NutraSweet. And those sugars are hundreds of times sweeter than regular sugar, and they actually increase our body's craving for sweets and sugars. And they have numerous studies that show that people who consume those beverages generally gain more weight than people who don't. And it's because of the cravings that they have. Avoid the white stuff. White bread, pastas, sugar, grains, and fill yourself with healthy foods. So one thing we can try to do is think about adding vegetables to every single meal, and preferably raw if we can. Add lean cuts of meat, fish, chicken, eggs. For snacks, I love fruit, nuts, and seeds. And again, avoid refined carbohydrates and sugar. Now, for those of you that are looking for some very, very specific help with meal planning and shopping, Dee Dee, can you raise your hand? Dee Dee Marin is a nutritionist, and works with us a little bit in the office here, and she's got some great stuff. We'll make available to everybody show you what a healthy 21-day meal plan looks like with recipes. She'll make that available to you at the end. Just get the information, or just tell us yes, and we'll put it next to your name, and we can email that to you. But if you want some more help, specific help, individual, you can have a consult with her. You can talk to her on the phone or by email, 10 or 15 minutes. There's no charge for that first consult. And if you need more help, she'll meet with you for an hour, and usually charge like $150 for a consultation for an hour. and she'll go over things, your challenges with eating and that if you're looking for that specific help, okay? So keep that in mind, all right? Next up. So heart disease, cancer, diabetes, they're all associated. Those are the 3 top killers in our country outside of iatrogenic causes. All of them are associated with inflammation. Eating the right foods will help to decrease inflammation in your body. There's also some supplements that you can take that will help improve your health and help you to control inflammation. And these are the top ones that I think most people could benefit from or utilize. A good probiotic, vitamin D, fish oil, multivitamin and antioxidant, and defense or some sort of immune boosting product if you're starting to come down with an illness. So that would be like things like echinacea or lomatium or some other herbs that boost your immunity. Specifically, there's lots of different stuff out there. I'm going to give you just kind of the highlights of the key things that you should look for. Physician's Preferred brand is one of the brands that we use in the office. Regarding a probiotic, some of the key things to look for. One is it should have at least 20 or 30 billion CFU. Those are colony-forming units. Those are the healthy bacteria that you're trying to re-inoculate your system with.
Can you say that one more time?
20 to 30 billion CFU. Any good probiotic is going to list how much CFU it has in it, okay? That number should be guaranteed through the expiration date. So it doesn't matter if they guarantee it at the time of manufacture. That doesn't mean that by the time it gets to the store and to your house that there's still 20 or 30 billion organisms in there. They could die in the process, okay? So you want to make sure that it says guaranteed through expiration, so potency guaranteed through expiration. The bacteria should be able to survive the pH of your stomach, okay? So generally they have to hibernate them or things like that. A lot of good products are refrigerated. They don't have to be though. Again, if they guarantee it, if they put them into hibernation, then they'll come alive once you start to eat them or they enter the pH of your stomach. Regarding vitamin D, vitamin D3 is the active form in your body. Most of us in the northern hemisphere are deficient in vitamin D. We should be taking that regularly, particularly in the winter months because we don't see the sun. Most of our vitamin D comes from the sunlight. If you can get 15 minutes of really good sunlight a day, they say that's often enough. If you have dark skin, that's probably not going to be enough for you. My levels, I'm in the sun all the time, and if I don't supplement with 5,000 IUs a day, my levels go low. The other thing that you want to know about vitamin D is it's a very broad range. The normal goes from 30 to 80. But most studies that you read, you want to be over 50 in order to be healthy. So if you get your test and the doctor says you're fine, you're normal, you're 35 or you're 40, you probably want to be supplementing with more than you're taking to get your level up above 50, okay? Because the 50 and above levels have been associated with better health outcomes. And last, you should have vitamin K2 present with the D3. Because D3 increases calcium absorption into our body, you need to have vitamin K2 present to carry that calcium out of your blood into the bones. And if it's not there, then the calcium can stay around in the blood, and that's not a good thing because that can actually cause plaquing. So if you're going to be supplementing with D3, it should have some K2 in it as well, okay? Fish oil, probably one of the most important and beneficial supplements that almost everyone should be taking. Because of our diets and the way that we eat, we're usually deficient in omega-3 fatty acids, and fish oil provides that. It's good for cardiovascular health, blood sugar metabolism. It supports our mind and brain development. Good for skin, joint, connective tissues, visual and ocular health. Helps maintain the inflammatory response, and it also helps to boost our immune system. Some of the things that are important about a good fish oil supplement, One, it should be processed without heat or light because it's very sensitive, so that will wreck it. It should be fresh. It's an oil. If your capsules smell bad or they look really dark, they're probably gone bad or they're rancid. You don't want to take them. You don't ever want to take these past the expiration date. Physicians' preferred brand. This brand, one of the reasons I like about it is it's super fresh. The catch from the fish to the bottle time is a week or less. So it's really, really fresh. And the other thing is it comes in the triglyceride form. That's when you eat fish, that's how you're getting your omega-3 fatty acids, is in the triglyceride form. They're absorbed a little bit better than the ethyl ester form. And most fish oil products come in the ethyl ester form, which just means you have to take more of it because it's not absorbed as well, okay? Okay, is everybody with me here? We're doing okay? All right, good. So last form of stress would be traumas. And there's a couple different types of trauma. There's macro trauma and there's micro trauma. Macro trauma, things like falls, lifting your Christmas tree, lifting boxes to put away Christmas decorations. It's easy to see how you can hurt your back or strain tissues that way, right? I mean, everybody can kind of understand that. So, again, our spine, it's like a suit of armor. The bones of the spine, they protect the nerves that exit. Those nerves, skull protects the brain, the bones protect the spinal cord that comes out, and then the nerves exit and they connect with every single cell, tissue, or organ in our body. And as long as there's good communication, we're going to be healthy. So good spinal health, good alignment equals good nervous system health. Remember, our nervous system is what allows us to cope and adapt to stress in the environment. So if that's healthy, then we're going to probably be healthy because we're going to have good communication. After all, what happens in a business or a family when communication breaks down? Bad outcome, right? Things don't go so well. So one of the most common causes of communication or interference in our nervous system is something that we call a subluxation. And these subluxations, they happen from macro trauma and they happen from micro trauma. The ligaments that hold the bones in place, they get stretched. The soft tissues around there now start to get damaged. The muscles actually start to get injured and swell, and then they go into spasm. There's inflammation that occurs around the area to the nerves as well as the muscles. And when those muscles spasm, you lose flexibility in the joints. Okay? When the joints shift, you lose movement, and movement is what causes imbibition. And imbibition is a very important process. The discs are those shock absorbers that we're showing up here. When your spine moves healthily, that's not even a word, I don't think, healthily. When your spine is moving properly, you get imbibition. So fluid is pumped into the discs and wastes are pumped out. And that preserves the space and the health of that disc. When it stops moving, we stop getting that exchange of nutrients, and what happens is our spine wears out prematurely. That's degenerative arthritis. And that's one of the biggest benefits I think I offer people is when we do maintenance or wellness adjustments is by keeping movement in your spine, we're allowing imbibition to occur. You know how they say you're taller in the morning? You really are. The reason you're taller is because of imbibition. Your disc is taking on more water, and that's what makes you taller. And as we get older, one of the reasons we get shorter is from lack of imbibition, from bad spinal alignment. The discs get thinner, and we start to get shorter. And the last thing that happens when we get this subluxation process that's interfering with our nervous system is the cerebellum. The joints in the back of your spine send messages to your cerebellum. It's part of your brain. This senses where your body is in relationship to the space around it. But the cerebellum is also responsible for releasing the stress hormones. So now we get an altered stress response, and we get an increase in the stress hormones. Okay? Remember that adaptive physiology slide? So having a subluxation from macro trauma, yeah, you get the whole physical response of pain and things like that, but that can also increase our stress response. So things like blood pressure, heart rate, muscle tone, and anxiety, those things can all actually be increased from having a subluxation in your back. Did you guys know that? It's pretty crazy, isn't it? So as I said, subluxations, they cause nerve irritation and interference to the body's ability to heal itself. Our body's ability to adapt with the stress of the holidays and cope with the stress around ourselves. Subluxations can interfere with that. So has anybody been doing any of this lately? Not so much. Luckily, we haven't had too much snow. But again, at this time of year, shoveling Christmas presents again, you can see how it causes that. How about this? How many of you think that you spend a little too much time maybe in front of a phone or a computer screen? Yeah, okay. What do you think this is doing to our bodies? Next slide there. So, health experts are now saying that sitting is the new smoking. You understand the analogy, right? That sitting is as bad as smoking. And if sitting is the new smoking, what do you suppose what we're sitting in front of, the computer screen, that's like the new crack. I mean, we used to sit 5 days a week when we worked, right? Now, for most of us, it's probably 7 because we're at our computers at home, we're on our phones at home. And what about our kids? Kids are on this stuff more than we are. Okay? What do you suppose all of this is doing to our bodies? This is a big reason for the health crisis. Okay? So, on the far left, the 12-pound, believe it or not, every guys in the room here, gals, your head weighs between 10 and 15 pounds. Average head is 12 pounds. And with good, healthy posture, it sits right over your shoulders, shoulders over your hips, hips over your knees. But from all this sitting and hunching forward and looking at screens, what happens is our heads start to come forward. And as they come forward, it increases the lever arm and it starts to create an inordinate amount of stress on the tissues of our neck and our upper back. 32 foot-pounds with just a little bit of a forward head carriage, 42 as it gets further forward. Remember, those tissues are what protect our nervous system, which allows us to adapt to the stress around ourselves. Okay? One study actually showed that a 2.5 centimeter forward head carriage, people who had that died over 4 years earlier than people who didn't. And they matched, these were people that were 60 and over, and they matched every other health indicator. They died 4 years earlier. Who thinks that their posture is important? Yeah, and not just because of how we look, but because of its effect on our function and our nervous system, okay? So let's look inside and see what's happening, okay? So we've got our spine, it looks like a switchboard there. And to the left, it's showing the autonomic nervous system, okay? We got the brain at the top, the yellow is the spinal cord, the nerves go into all of our internal organs of our body. And I've had patients who've had subluxations or interference in the middle of their back that was affecting their lungs, and we started adjusting them. They had asthma, and they were able to decrease their asthma medications. And I've had patients with ulcers, same thing. They don't come in for that. They come in for middle back pain, and we start adjusting them. The ulcers go away. Headaches, we heard about earlier from Brittany. Even increased heart rate and blood pressure. My mother-in-law, she tried 3 medications, and 2 of them put her in the emergency room. She couldn't take them. Finally, I said, you should go to a chiropractor. She started getting her upper neck adjusted, blood pressure totally normalized. That was 20 years ago. Hasn't been on a blood pressure medication since. I have a patient, this little guy, when his mom brought him in, he was 2 years old. right around 2, might have even been a little younger. And chronic ear fluid. And he didn't have much pain, but he wasn't hearing. He failed his hearing tests. And a friend of theirs said, hey, you should bring him to the chiropractor. I went to see Dr. Ginsberg. He adjusted my son and his ear infections went away. So they came in, we examined the spine, we found some subluxations in the upper neck. We started adjusting this little guy, and after about 5 weeks or so, ears totally cleared. And he had been on multiple courses of antibiotics. The ears would clear, and they would come right back again. So we adjusted them, cleared out the subluxations, ear fluid went away, hearing fine, he's doing great. Well, just late summer, right as school started, his mom brought him back. He's 4.5 now, he's in preschool, and he's not hearing again. The teacher says he's not really listening. I don't think he can hear me. His mom noticed at home he wasn't hearing. She took him for a hearing test, failed the hearing test. He didn't have any pain at all, but he had fluid in his ears. So we examined him again. Sure enough, upper cervical subluxation affecting the nerves that go to the eustachian tube. This is the tube that goes from the middle ear to the back of the throat. This is the thing that opens and closes when we're in an airplane and we feel our ears pop, okay? That's your eustachian tube. There's a little tiny muscle that wraps around there that's innervated by a nerve that comes out of your upper neck. And in this little guy, it was pinched. We started adjusting him, and after about 5.5 weeks, ears totally cleared, went back, took his hearing test, passed it, no antibiotics, no ear tube surgery. Pretty cool, huh? Life-changing? Maybe. So some of you might be saying, well, how do you know if you have one of these subluxations? And there's a number of things that we do here in the office to try to determine if your body is being affected by stress and if the cause might be subluxations. We do instrumentation, motion palpation, static palpation. We look at your posture, and we take x-rays. And another thing that makes us a little bit different is the technique we use is called the Gonstead method. And Dr. Gonstead, before he became a chiropractor, he was a mechanical engineer. And what he did is he brought a lot of the very engineering, analytical principles to the analysis of the spine and the analysis of the x-rays. And he developed a whole technique. And Dr. DeClark and I do that technique. And there's not very many chiropractors in this area that do that. And the benefits of that is it allows us to be very, very specific. And the importance of that is that we often get results faster, and it's also safer. Chiropractic is the largest drug-free profession in the world. And it's also very, very safe. And one of the ways that you can kind of judge whether a medical procedure or intervention, the safety of it is, look at the malpractice insurance of the practitioner. So I pay $2,500 per year for $3 million worth of coverage, $1 million per incident. It's hard for me to do something that would really hurt somebody or harm them. And versus an obstetrician or a brain surgeon, if they make a mistake, people are going to die or they're going to be injured for the rest of their life. And that's why they pay hundreds of thousands of dollars just in insurance. So the fact that we do this Gonstead method and it's so specific, it helps us get results faster, as I said, and it helps to make the results go quicker, which is obviously a good thing because that's what everybody wants, right? So go ahead and flip that. So again, before I get into these subluxations and how you know you have them, obviously you got to get checked, but I wanted to tell you a quick story. The other day, I got a Facebook message from a former patient of mine, and she lives in Florida now. And this woman, when she came into the office, she was a mess. She was between 75, maybe even 100 pounds overweight, totally stressed out, neck pain, back pain. She drank 2 big gulps per day. She thought it was normal to have fast food for 2 meals a day, 6 days a week. I'm not exaggerating. This is how she ate and drank. She couldn't work out because her back hurt so bad. She had chronic headaches. Her sister-in-law referred her into me, and she said she needs help. She's a mess. She was. So we started to do a history of her problems and asked her what was going on. And as we did that, we learned that she also was on blood pressure medication and medication for heartburn, reflux, and ulcers. We examined her, we did some x-rays, and we basically determined her spine was just riddled with subluxations, and her body was just not coping with the stress of her daily life around her. On top of that, her behaviors, the way she was eating, the pop she was drinking, was also contributing to her poor health. So we started adjusting her, and this patient was just terrified of getting adjusted. She literally, my chairs have these little handles on the side. They're not really to hold, but she held them, and her knuckles were white. And I'm not exaggerating. I would have to put my hand on her hand and say, calm down. It's going to be okay. After a few visits, she relaxed enough that I could adjust her. And after a couple weeks, she started to feel a little better. Her headache started to go away. Her neck pain started to go away. She started to decrease the amount of pop she drank. After a month or so, she was able to work out without any pain. As the months went on, she got off all of her medications. She started to exercise 6 days a week. And her message to me, I haven't seen her in about a year now because she moved to Florida. Her message to me the other day was, Dr. G, I'm down 73 pounds and I'm running my first 5K in February. I know that's nothing compared to what you do. No, that is everything. I was so excited to hear that. I mean, talk about a change in a person's life and their habits from understanding what to do about taking care of your body. I think that's pretty awesome. So, you know, I'd like to take a moment at this time to thank you all for being here and for you to thank the person who brought you here. Okay? You guys just help me thank those people. Because that helps us to fulfill our mission, right? In helping other people. Now, there's a couple groups of people here tonight. There's 2 to be exact. One group, you guys, you're doing good. You exercise, you're eating pretty good, you have good health habits, and you're satisfied with where you're at. And you're going to keep doing the things that you're doing, and that's awesome. I commend you. Keep doing that. That's great. But the second group, maybe you're not satisfied with where you're at. You haven't achieved all your health goals. You don't maybe like how your body's functioning or feeling or looking, okay? If this is you, then I want to talk to you right now, directly. I would love to have you come into the office and we would take a history of your problem and find out what your challenges are. What are the things that you are having trouble with? What are your health goals? And how can we maybe help you achieve those things? Okay? And I want to make this super, super easy for you because there's always barriers, right? The things that get in the way that stop us from taking action, right? Okay. So, you know, what are those things in your life? Are they time? I don't have time to take care of myself. I'm too busy. Or I take care of other people first. Well, we all know that when we have a crisis, we make time for it, right? So that's not really an excuse. It's too hard. I don't have time to come in. It's too hard for me to come in. Well, is what you're doing right now, I mean, is that easy? I don't think so. How about it's too expensive? I hear that all the time. It's too expensive for me to get checked. Well, isn't getting sick, it's always more expensive, right? But let me help you overcome that. I want to make this super, super easy for you. So if you could get your health back or improve it, like some of the people experiences that I shared earlier today, if you could do that by finding out that if you have subluxations and how they might be interfering with your health, we'll give you a history of your problem. You come in, we'll do that evaluation. We'll take some x-rays if we need to. We'll do the full exam. And we'll even give you the first treatment. And I'm willing to do that because you guys came out tonight and spent your time here. I'm willing to do that for $25. Before you get excited, there is a catch. Remember when I told you there were 3 main reasons for our health crisis in this country? The number 3 reason, and probably the most common reason, is procrastination. Right? It's said that procrastination is the enemy of success. And as a doctor of chiropractic, I can tell you I agree with that 100%. How many of you have tried to ignore a problem in the past? How did that work out? Usually not so good, right? The longer we wait, problems typically get worse, right? So I'm not going to let you do that. I'm going to take procrastination off the table, and I'm going to reward the action takers. So if you know that you want to get checked to find out if we can help you, if you have subluxations or not, then you have to do that tonight. You have to schedule your appointment tonight, and you have to pay the $25 to hold your spot. Courtney and Tia, if you want to do that, they will take care of you. How many spots do we have this week?
4 this week.
How about next week?
6.
6, so 10. And those will fill up as we go along. If you know you want to do it, see them before you go. If you wake up tomorrow and you say, you know what, Dr. Ginsberg, he was pretty good. That made sense. I want to get checked. That's awesome, but you'll have to pay the normal price, which is $303. Because I'm going to only reward the people that take action to do that, okay? The other thing before we go, we do these lectures for businesses and for civic groups. So if you would like us to come out to your work or your civic group and do a lecture like this, we have lots of different topics. See me at the end, which is going to be in a minute. If you have any questions, I will be up here to answer them for the next couple minutes or so. And again, if you want to get checked, make sure to see Courtney and Tia before you go. And if you want to get the information on the meal planning, just let them know as well, or let Dee Dee know. And you want to talk to her about consultation, she'll be around for a few minutes too, right? Okay? Any questions? Awesome. Thank you all for coming.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Next month is going to be on boosting your immune system. So if you know anyone who wants to come out, you want to come back out, we'd love to have you. All right? Great. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
You're welcome.